This is your host, Salim bin Muhammad Rafi, and you are listening and watching a very tragic story unfold from Salim ibn Muhammad Rafi on my YouTube channel, Zamir Universal. I think with the saddest moment in my life, and if I may be permitted to say, in the life of 1.5 billion Muslims.
I was brought up as an Orthodox Jew and a Zionist. On a shelf in our kitchen was a tin box of the Jewish National Fund, into which we put coins to help the pioneers building a Jewish presence in Palestine. I first went to Israel in 1961, and I've been there since more times than I can count. I had family in Israel, and I have friends in Israel. One of them fought in the wars of 1956, 1967 and 1973, and was wounded in two of them. The tie clip which I'm wearing is made from a campaign decoration awarded to him, which he presented to me. I've known most of the prime ministers of Israel, starting with the founding prime minister, David Ben-Gurion. Golda Meir was my friend. So was Yigal Allon, the deputy prime minister, who as a general won the Negev for Israel in the 1948 War of Independence. My parents came to Britain as refugees from Poland. Most of their families were subsequently murdered by the Nazis in the Holocaust. My grandmother was ill in bed when the Nazis came to her hometown of Stachov. A German soldier shot her dead in her bed. Madam Deputy Speaker, my grandmother did not die to provide cover for Israeli soldiers murdering Palestinian grandmothers in Gaza. The present Israeli government ruthlessly and cynically exploit the continuing guilt among Gentiles over the slaughter of Jews in the Holocaust as justification for their murder of Palestinians. The implication is that Jewish lives are precious, but the lives of Palestinians do not count. On Sky News a few days ago, the spokeswoman for the Israeli army, Major Leibovich, was asked about the Israeli killing of, at that time, 800 Palestinians. The total is now 1,000. She replied instantly, 500 of them were militants. That was the reply of a Nazi. I suppose that Jews fighting for their lives in the Warsaw Ghetto could have been dismissed as militants. The Israeli Foreign Minister, Tzipi Livni, asserts that her government will have no dealings with Hamas because they're terrorists. Tzipi Livni's father was Eitan Livni, Chief Operations Officer of the terrorist Irgun Tzvai Leumi, who organized the blowing up of the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, in which 91 victims were killed, including 4 Jews. Israel was born out of Jewish terrorism. Jewish terrorists hanged 2 British sergeants and booby-trapped their corpses. Irgun, together with the terrorist Stern Gang, massacred 254 Palestinians in 1948 in the village of Deir Yassin. Today, the present Israeli government indicate that they will be willing, in circumstances acceptable to them, to negotiate with the Palestinian President, Abbas, of Fatah. It's too late for that, Madam Deputy Speaker. They could have negotiated with Fatah's previous leader, Yasser Arafat, who was a friend of mine. Instead, they besieged him in a bunker in Ramallah, where I visited him. It's because of the failings of Fatah since Arafat's death that Hamas won the election, the Palestinian election in 2006. Hamas is a deeply nasty organization, but it was democratically elected, and it is the only game in town. The boycotting of Hamas, including by our own government, has been a culpable error from which dreadful consequences have followed. The great Israeli Foreign Minister Abba Eban, with whom I campaigned for peace on many platforms, said, "You make peace by talking to your enemies." However many Palestinians the Israelis murder in Gaza, They cannot solve this existential problem by military means. Whenever and however the fighting ends, there will still be 1.5 million Palestinians in Gaza and 2.5 million more Palestinians in the West Bank who are treated like dirt by the Israelis, with hundreds of roadblocks and with the ghastly denizens of the illegal Jewish settlements harassing them as well. The time will come, not so long from now, when they will outnumber the Jewish population in Israel. It's time for our government to make clear to the Israeli government that its conduct and policies are unacceptable and to impose a total arms ban on Israel. It is time for peace, but real peace, not the solution by conquest, which is the Israelis' real goal, but which is impossible for them to achieve. They're not simply war criminals, they're fools.
Most of whom are astray, most of whom are enjoying, most of them have been possessed by devil, most of them watch television and dramas, make speeches, copy West, like women wearing minimum clothes, watch concerts, Indian movies, Hollywood movies, and that is the peak of their achievement in the faith. By name is their faith. I'm sorry, I am not just excluding myself. Most of the things I have said for others perhaps will also apply on me, my children, my family, and my all countrymen. What on earth happened to the Muslims in the world? How come we became cowards and our temporary life became so precious that we want to save our neck? We don't want to meet our Lord. We do not want, we think, die. We have become the most coward nation in the world. No humiliation, no indignation, no insult is enough for Muslims to wake up. I am bitterly disappointed by the Turkish president who pretends that he is the leader of the Muslim world, and he has been a bosom relationship with the enemy of Islam and has recognized before any other Muslim nation the illegitimate state of Israel, which stabbed the very heart, the pumping heart, the center of life of the whole Muslim Ummah. How on earth one can link him with those great Ottoman empires and Saladin who conquered Jerusalem, or the Caliph Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu? He is just to me is a bigot, a hypocrite, and nothing more than that. His F-16 and I think his drone, he can keep it to himself. And if I may be permitted to say, I will say worst thing about Pakistan when the whole Muslim Ummah enjoyed when they did the nuclear blast. They can save it and put it around their neck as an ornament when the whole Muslim Ummah is being dragged out to drown in the sea, and one by one their kids are being killed, their homes destroyed, the whole cities devastated, the whole of Palestine being emptied, and now with just few pamphlets, which is the dirtiest source of media being used in Second World War, it was dropped from the planes. It's exactly the same we are watching, giving 24-hour notice. This is, I think, a matter of shame, disgust, and despicable behavior of United States of America, the criminal nation on earth who had given birth to this illegitimate child and recognized when the then President of the United States was shaming with only 5,000 native Jews who were living in peace under the Muslim care in the state of Palestine. The
67 ایک پوری قوم، ایک پورے خطے کی تباہی کی بنیاد رکھی صرف 67 الفاظ والے خط نے. یہ وہ خط تھا جو 2 نومبر 1917 کو اس وقت کے برطانوی وزیر خارجہ آرتھر جیمز بیلفور نے برطانوی جوئش کمیونٹی کے سربراہ لارڈ والٹر راتھ چائلڈ کو لکھا اور اسے یقین دلایا کہ برطانوی حکومت فلسطین کی سرزمین پر ایک یہودی ریاست قائم کرنے میں زائنسٹ یہودیوں کی بھرپور مدد کرے گی. یہ خط کہلاتا ہے بیلفور ڈکلیریشن، اور اسی کی بنیاد پر برطانیہ نے صہیونی تحریک سے ایک ایسے ملک کا وعدہ کیا جہاں کی 90% آبادی مقامی فلسطینی عربوں کی تھی. پہلی عالمی جنگ اور سلطنت عثمانیہ کی ٹوٹ پھوٹ کے نتیجے میں فلسطینی سرزمین 1917 میں برطانیہ کے قبضے میں چلی گئی. اقوام متحدہ سے پہلے جو عالمی تنظیم تھی لیگ آف نیشنز، اس نے جیسے ہی 1922 میں فلسطین پر برطانوی قبضے کو منظور کیا تو برٹش حکومت کی مدد سے دنیا بھر کے یہودیوں، بالخصوص زائنسٹ یہودیوں نے فلسطینی علاقوں میں آنا شروع کر دیا، اور وہ سلسلہ آج تک جاری ہے. اس ٹائم پر برطانیہ نے فلسطینی زمینوں پر قبضہ کر کر کے یہودیوں کو دینا شروع کر دیا. برطانیہ نے ان یہودی قابضوں کے ساتھ مل کر کئی مسلح گروپس بنائے. ان جتھوں نے رات کی تاریکی میں فلسطینی گھروں پر چھاپا مار حملے کیے، گھروں کو گرایا اور فلسطینیوں کی نسل کشی کی. جیسے ہی ابھی 7 اکتوبر کو اسرائیل فلسطین جنگ دوبارہ چھڑی تو کئی لوگوں نے کہنا شروع کر دیا کہ بھائی جب فلسطینیوں کے آباء و اجداد خود اپنی زمینیں بیچ کر گئے تو اب وہ کیوں اس پر لڑ رہے. بڑا ہی افسوس ہوا کہ لوگوں کو اپنی تاریخ ہی نہیں پتا، الٹا اس تاریخ کا فالس یا فیک ورژن ماننا شروع کر دیا ہے. انٹرنیٹ اور سمارٹ فونز کے اس دور میں لا علمی کا کوئی جواز نہیں ہے. فلسطینیوں کے آباء و اجداد نے اپنی زمینیں کسی کو نہیں بیچی، وہ زمینیں ان سے زبردستی چھینی گئی تھیں. صہیونی حملوں کی وجہ سے 1947 تک فلسطینی علاقوں میں یہودی آبادی بڑھ کر 33% ہو گئی تھی، لیکن ان کے پاس صرف 6% زمین کی ملکیت تھی. پھر ہوا 1948 میں النکبہ، عربی میں اس کے معنی ہے سانحہ. فلسطینیوں کی ملک بدری اور نسل کشی کو النکبہ کہا جاتا ہے. اس میں نیم فوجی مسلح زائنسٹ گروپوں نے فلسطینیوں کے 500 سے زیادہ شہر اور دیہات تباہ کیے. نسل کشی کے 70 واقعات میں 15,000 سے زیادہ فلسطینی ہلاک کیے. 7.5 لاکھ فلسطینیوں کو ان کے گھروں سے بے گھر کیا اور فلسطین کی 78% زمین پر قبضہ کر لیا. بقیہ 22% زمین وہ ہے جو اب مغربی کنارے اور غزہ پٹی میں تقسیم ہے. اسی نکبہ کے نتیجے میں یہودیوں نے 15 مئی 1948 کو اسرائیل کے قیام کا اعلان کیا. میری بات کا یقین نہیں آتا تو 2021 میں اردن نے ایک فلم بنائی تھی فرحہ، وہ دیکھیں. وہ ایک ایسی لڑکی کی سچی کہانی پر مبنی ہے جس نے اپنی آنکھوں سے نکبہ کے دوران صہیونی مظالم دیکھے. یہ فلم نیٹ فلکس پر دسمبر 2022 میں ریلیز ہوئی. اسرائیل نے ایڑی چوٹی کا زور لگا لیا تھا فلم کو روکنے کے لیے، لیکن سوشل میڈیا کے اس دور میں حقیقت چھپائی نہیں جا سکتی. فلم ریلیز ہوئی. اسرائیل میں یہودی ہولوکاسٹ سے انکار کرنا جرم ہے، لیکن فلسطینی ہولوکاسٹ النکبہ کے ذکر پر بھی پابندی ہے. مغربی میڈیا بھی زیادہ تر انہی کے کنٹرول میں ہے، اسی لیے آج لوگوں کو یہودیوں کا ہولوکاسٹ تو یاد ہے لیکن فلسطینی ہولوکاسٹ النکبہ بھول گئے. یہاں یہ بھی بتا دوں کہ النکبہ سے پہلے اور بعد میں بہت سے یہودی ایسے تھے جنہوں نے اسرائیل میں رہنے سے انکار کر دیا تھا کیونکہ وہ زائنسٹ کے جنگی جرائم اور فلسطینیوں کی نسل کشی کے خلاف تھے. نامور یہودی ڈاکٹر اور مصنف ہیں گیبور ماٹے. وہ نازی جرمنی کے ہولوکاسٹ سروائیور بھی ہیں. کہتے ہیں کہ شروع میں ان کا بھی خواب تھا کہ یہودیوں کا اپنا ملک ہو، اپنی فوج ہو، تاکہ نازی کیمپوں کی تاریخ دہرائی نہ جا سکے. لیکن جب وہ وہاں پہنچے تو انہیں پتہ چلا کہ یہودی خواب کو حقیقت بنانے کے لیے انہیں مقامی فلسطینیوں کے ساتھ وہی کچھ کرنا ہے جو ہٹلر نے یہودیوں کے ساتھ کیا، کیونکہ مقامی آبادی کو ختم کیے بغیر یہودی ریاست کسی طور قائم نہیں کی جا سکتی تھی. آج اسرائیل دنیا کی واحد قابض طاقت ہے. جو لوگ کہتے ہیں کہ غزہ پٹی اور مغربی اردن دنیا کی سب سے بڑی اوپن ایئر جیلیں ہیں تو ان کے لیے عرض ہے یہ جیلز نہیں ہیں، یہ کانسنٹریشن کیمپس ہیں، بالکل ویسے ہی جیسے نازی جرمنی میں تھے. دنیا کہتی ہے النکبہ 2 سال جاری رہا، میں کہتی ہوں النکبہ کبھی ختم ہی نہیں ہوا. فلسطینی اپنے باپ دادا کے گھروں کی چابیاں آج بھی گلے میں لٹکا کر رکھتے ہیں کہ کہیں دنیا فلسطینی ہولوکاسٹ بھول نہ جائے. बिल्कुल वैसे जैसे पूरी दुनिया बेल्फोर डिक्लेरेशन के 67 अल्फाज में से वो 23 अल्फाज टोटली भूल चुकी है, जो कहते हैं वाज़े रहे कि कोई ऐसा काम नहीं होगा जिससे फ़लस्तीन की गैर यहूदी आबादी के शहरी और मजहबी हुकूक को नुकसान पहुंचे।
Leader, the terrorist leader who called him, was surprised that how on earth 5,000 people are being recognized with a small tiny piece of land. Most of them came there as refugees, naked and barefooted, starved, and it was the Muslim of Palestine who fed them, gave them water, gave them shelter, and look what they have done in return, and how they stabbed them, how they caged them, how they put them in jails, how they removed their kidneys and sold them, how they killed their kids, how they destroyed their hospitals, how they put phosphorus bombs on it, how they put barbed wires, hundreds and thousands of checkpoints. Imagine what they have done. They stopped their electricity, they stopped their water, they stopped their medicine. They are animals. How would you think that Hitler did anything worse than they are doing now? And what they think they are avenging? Was any Palestinian involved in the Second World War who put them in the gas chamber? Was there any Muslim involved who burned them in the incinerators? Then how come? How the scum of the whole world, the society, came as settlers, and what bloody right they had to throw the natives out, burn their olive groves, their apple groves, and occupy their homes, kill their women, kill their children, kick the elderly in their teeth. They even walked with their bloody, dirty, filthy shoes into the most sacred mosque on earth, the first Qibla of Islam. How dare they pray on the Wailing Wall when the next to the Wailing Wall is the father of all the prophets, Prophet Abraham? I think they're insulting him. I don't think any one of them is a Jew. They are some other thing. Perhaps some other nation. Perhaps the children of Yajuj or Majuj or devil. Obviously, they cannot be human. They are inhuman. Worse than this white South African who built ghettos and put boards outside that blacks are not allowed. What they did is systematically they massacred, did the ethnic cleansing from home to street to street to city, and they destroyed their airline, destroyed their railway station, destroyed their newspaper, destroyed their colleges, destroyed their schools, destroyed their art centers, destroyed their beautiful Ottoman architecture. And the whole bloody world kept quiet. The one who spoke, I take my hats off to President Putin, who has the courage and the dare to challenge this most cruel country on earth, called himself or herself as the superpower, is bloody no superpower. His time has come that it will be shattered in pieces. His, I think, end is going to be worse than Namrud or Pharaoh. People will just run away, scream, and not like to see the filthy face of the American, all the American, I think, judges, all the American presidents, all the American statesmen, all the, I think, the deep state actors who have shares in the defense industry, and they invade every country on earth. Why they do it? Why they are part of the United Nations? Why they are even allowed to travel into those countries? Such criminals should not be. Now, One should see what they are doing in Gaza. And I'm now starting you to listen to the real story of the creation or the dirty birth of this illegitimate child from their own mouth. Listen to this video, please watch this whole video. It's by a Jew himself, and you will know the way how you assess them and what kind of animals they are. They are not a nation. And when you see the exodus and compare it with how they were thrown out of Europe and every country, and why are they hated, why their graves are dug out and their dead bodies exposed. See how dirty, how filthy, how ugly these people are. Then and then only you realize when
अब नोट कर लीजिए, ये किताबें अगर आप पढ़ना चाहें तो किताबुल मलाहिम में पढ़िए। बदतरीन अजाब अरबों पर आया खड़ा है, सरों पर तना हुआ है, बदतरीन। ऐसी जंग होनी है अल मलहमतुल उज़्मा, जिसको कि मैं भी आपके गवाही पेश कर दूंगा, जिसे कहा गया है द लास्ट क्रूसेड। बुश ने भी क्रूसेड का लफ्ज़ बोल दिया था, फिर वापस लिया उसने। निकल जाती है जिसके मुंह से सच्ची बात मस्ती में, फकीह मस्लहत बीन से और हिंदे बादाखार अच्छा। क्रूसेड कहकर फिर वापस लिया। ये क्रूसेड, इसके ऊपर जिस कदर नुकसान होना है अरबों का, ग्रेटर इजराइल बनेगा, ये इराक, शाम, उर्दुन, सऊदी अरब का कुछ शिमाली इलाका, तुर्की का जनूबी इलाका, मिस्र का सेराय सीना, और उसके साथ ही जो बेहतरीन उसका जरखेज तरीन इलाका डेल्टा ऑफ नाइल, ये सब यहूदियों के कब्जे में जाएंगे। इसको हदीस में कहा गया अल मलहमतुल उज़्मा। ईसाई 80 अलम लेकर है मुसलमानों तुम पर हमला आवर होंगे, और हर अलम के नीचे 12,000 फौज होगी, 9.5 लाख फौज। ये नेटो की तैयारी किसके लिए हो रही है? जब यूएसएसआर का खात्मा हुआ तो पूछा गया था नेटो चीफ से, अब किस लिए? तुम्हारा वो दुश्मन तो खत्म हो गया, अब हमें इस्लामिक फंडामेंटलिज्म से निपटना है। वो जानते हैं खतरा यही है, अब इस्लाम उभर सकता है। मुसलमानों के सीनों के अंदर वो आग है, ऊपर खाकिस्तान आ गया है, तुम्हें उठाना बैठना, ये अंदर तो अंगारा है, ऊपर से राख है, इससे धोखा न खा जाना इनके दिलों के अंदर। और बुश ने कहा था मुसलमान चाहते हैं कि हिस्पानिया से लेकर इंडोनेशिया तक निजाम खिलाफत कायम करें। और मैं हैरान हुआ था कि इस कमबख्त को हिस्पानिया का ख्याल कैसे आ गया। हमें तो कभी आता ही नहीं, अब हम तो भूल गए। वो तो 500 बरस पुरानी बात है, जबकि वहां से हमें निकाल दिया गया था। अगरचे इकबाल ने कहा था, है अर्ज़ फिलिस्तीन पे यहूदी का अगर हक, हिस्पानिया पर हक नहीं क्यों अहले अरब का। हिस्पानिया में तो 800 साल हुकूमत की मुसलमानों ने, और अभी 500 बरस ही गुजरे हैं ना। यहूदी तो अर्ज़ मुक़द्दस से 2000 साल निकाले गए, उन्हें नाके आबाद किया गया, अरबों के सीने में खंजर भोंक दिया गया। वो छोटा सा मुल्क जो चाहता करता, कोई पूछने वाला नहीं। अमेरिका जैसे अपने बेटे की हिफाजत करे वैसे करता है उसकी। और हुजूर ने फरमाया है वो जंग जब होगी तो एक बाप के अगर 100 बेटे होंगे तो 99 खत्म हो जाएंगे, एक बचेगा। ये हदीस है सही। और आपने फरमाया वैलुल लिल अरब मिन शर्रिन क़द इक़्तरब, अरबों के लिए हलाकत है, अरबों के लिए बर्बादी है उस शर से जो करीब आ चुकी है।
One of their own men is criticizing that what they do. And why did the Muslims embrace them and let these refugees come? They're just like those animals, like that camel who only to hide his head into the tent, and instead he occupied the whole tent and threw the inhabitants of the tent out in the desert alone to die. They are that animal, that camel they are. Not human at all. And I think it's the biggest mistake that the Gaza, even single person who either rides a donkey or a broken car or a bullock cart and is leaving Gaza. If they are real Muslims and they have a faith in God, nobody can change the place of their death. They should stay put and let them bomb them. Let the world see to what extent their criminality can go. Let their tanks walk into the streets and go out with dead bodies burnt alive into ashes. Let their soldiers come in and have their head cut in their own hand. Let their women soldiers come. Let their all planes come. They will come down flying, I can assure you. Have your faith. And remember this prayer of Prophet Abraham. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. God is enough to Abraham. And see what happened to the fire. Did that fire burn him? No. So stay put. My appeal to the Gazan is to stay put. And the Egyptian should die of shame. And so should the Jordanian. So should the Syrian. Why on earth they don't open their borders and get the water to them, food to them, medicine to them, give them their guns, give them their F-16, give them their tanks. What good they are. Soon it is going to be taken over by these same bloody, filthy, dirty, these people who are bigots, who are hypocrites, and who are the criminals on this earth. Troublemaker. And one by one, they will take it. Or you call this gentleman, you call yourself a leader of the Arab world. I'm talking to you, MSP Mohammed Sulman, you 35-year-old Muslim, if you are at all a Muslim.
In the coming months, this is, Doc, I know you've already talked about the doomsday weapon.
Yes. We just started talking about it, Rick.
So when we have an Israeli member of the Knesset saying, let's bring out our doomsday weapons.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know you had doomsday weapons.
That's a good point.
You have doomsday weapons?
Hasn't Israel pretended like they haven't had nuclear weapons all this time?
Look, this is beyond nuclear.
I know.
What is it? What is it, Doc?
It's a weapon designed for annihilation of an entire population.
I'll tell you what it is. It's a neutron bomb. That's what they have. They have neutron bombs. Neutron bombs kill people and don't knock down buildings. What she's saying is, a couple neutron bombs, we kill 2 million Palestinians, it's over. No radiation, we just go in and
pick up the bodies.
Yeah, bury the bodies, they'll burn the bodies, 2 million, they'll get rid of them. That's what she's calling for. Instant genocide. She's saying to Netanyahu, bring out the Jericho. They're calling it the Jericho bomb. It's a neutron. This is my belief. It's a neutron bomb. It is something that is not going to hurt the Zionists that are just a few miles away. She's not going to nuke Gaza.
Right.
There's a weapon. They've got a weapon that can annihilate people without spreading the radiation downwind.
Right. Okay.
It's called instant genocide. Or she's saying bring out the DNA biological weapon.
And that's not a made-up thing. We've reported
Release the biological weapon that kills Arabs. She's got something in her mind, and Netanyahu knows what it is. And the other Zionist politicians know what she's talking about. And now they're thinking, is it time to do it? Do we bring out the weapon that kills people and not buildings? Folks, you have no idea how horrifying this war is going to become. You have no idea. Don't listen to the Sean Hannitys. Don't listen to the warmongers. Don't get that bloodlust in your heart, in your mind.
And it is a bloodlust.
It is a bloodlust.
I tried scanning some of the talking heads last night. I couldn't believe how hypnotized they were with the thought of dead Palestinians.
I know. I was listening to talk radio driving in. Same thing. Listening to a national talk show host just laughing about it. Laughing. You don't want that on you. Spiritually, you don't want it on you, because whatsoever you sow, you shall reap.
Yes.
And the Israelis are going to obliterate Gaza. And when they obliterate Gaza, they will wipe out 2 million Gazan Palestinians. And they don't care. I told you the feeling I had when I didn't meet him. He didn't shake my hand. I was standing next to Netanyahu, but I got a good look at him. I saw a man that absolutely cold, lifeless eyes, soulless eyes. I saw a man who could kill 2 million people and then go to dinner. Wouldn't bother him at all. Because in his mind, they're not people.
That's right.
You have to understand
beasts, savages.
They're savages. They're beasts. In his mind, the Palestinians are not people. So he has no conscience that would bother him. And we are witnessing in real time mass genocide. And hardly anybody is saying anything about it. And if you do say something about it, you will be extremely.
Get all your dollars, all your petrodollars, pour into the Putin's there and Chinese president. Beg them, call OIC meeting. Let Pakistani chief of the army staff, instead of persecuting your own people and conquering for the last 75 years their own population, go and fight there. Send all their squadrons and your pilots. Bomb them. Bomb every city of Israel, every port of Israel. Shoot down every plane they have. And stop nothing when you drown every aircraft carrier of the United States or any bloody other country which comes into there. And if Turkey doesn't join you, Pakistan alone, and if Iran doesn't join you, if Saudis doesn't join you, then they are not Muslims. Remember them, they are not Muslims. And when their turn comes, you also turn your face on the other, as they are now turning on Palestinian. Palestinian and Masjid Al-Aqsa does not belong alone to Palestinians. Mecca or Khana Kaaba does not belong. It belongs to all 1.5 billion Muslims of different colors, different castes, different races. One thing in common, one. God is one. Tawheed. And we all worship that God. And our day, when it is going to come and we are going to die, we are going to die. If it is going to be our grave in the ocean, there it will be, where it is destined. Or anywhere on earth where that 6 feet piece of land for our grave, where we are going to be buried till Qiyamah, that's where the dead will go. So why leave Gaza? Why leave West Bank? Dig in, die there, but don't leave. Nothing saddened me more than seeing these helpless women and children leaving Gaza because of the bloody pamphlet. Take them on. They have done in purpose to let you cross the border. They were looking for an excuse. Listen to this, Dr. Israr. It's in Urdu, which I'm sorry I'm not translating it for you. But listen what is going to be the end of the Arabs. It's already there. It's already started. By reversing and getting the statues back into the most sacred city of Mecca and Medina. By allowing Sanskrit. By allowing the greatest idol worshipper places both in UAE and in Saudi Arabia. How can they be Muslims? How, when they defy our Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, how on earth can they fight? Cowards, cowards, and cowards. With this, I will show you what's happening see, watch for yourself and cry with me as I'm going to cry right now. यूनिवर्सल टेलीविजन को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें, उसके बाद बेल बटन पे क्लिक करें और अपने कमेंट्स के सेक्शन में अपने कीमती जो ख्यालात का इजहार ज़रूर